So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Summer 2012 Overwhelmed to Organize Challenge. And our challenge this week is to get those stamps and punches and cutting systems organized. All those different tools that are all different shapes and sizes and floating around your room. So let's go ahead and jump right into that with this week's winner. Andy Gracely or Grassley, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, but just a nice note about the challenge and how she's moving forward with things, getting organized. So Andy was an email entry. So for those of you who aren't Facebookers, if you want to be eligible, like Andy, to win a $25 gift certificate each week, you need to make sure you're emailing customer service and giving us an update on your progress, and we'll make sure you get into the drawing. So congratulations, Andy. I'm not sure if you're on board with us this morning, but if you are, we will either contact you or you can contact us at customerservice@thescraprack.com and get your coupon code. So I guess I should check do my normal check here of sound. So if you can hear me, if you can raise your virtual hand so I know that I'm coming through loud and clear, not just talking to empty air. Perfect. I see everybody's hands going up there. Great. I'm going to go ahead and put all your hands down. Oh, and I see Andy's name. So congratulations, Andy. Thanks for joining us this morning. We'll get that coupon right out to you. So, all right. With the fun business done, let's move on here. Our goal for this webinar is to establish a system for sorting, storing, and organizing your stamps, punches, and cutting system that enables you to get the most use out of them with the least frustration. Now, I want to talk a little bit about frustration because I read a post on the Facebook page. I don't remember who it was from, but it was just about like being frustrated and discouraged and overwhelmed with the photo sort. So I know I talk a lot about the brain here as we're organizing, and it's such an important component, but I just want you to all be aware or cognizant of the fact that when you get those feelings of overwhelm, discouragement, frustration, your rational brain shuts down and wanders off. So when you start to feel that sense of I'm not getting anything done, this is so frustrating, I can't believe how much stuff I have to do, that's when you want to walk away from the task at hand and go do something else, because once your brain starts thinking that way, you're not going to make good, solid decisions anymore. And it's so much better, we talk about baby steps. It's so much better to take even tiny, tiny steps when you're feeling that way. So one of the things that makes us feel that way is looking, like visually seeing huge amounts of things that need to get done, sort of that deer in the headlights look. So what I recommend when you're in that situation is that you take, for this example with photos, take all those photos, get them into boxes, whatever, even if you have to use the dreaded cram and close method, and get those boxes stored somewhere out of sight, out of mind, and sit with one box of photos in front of you. So that's all you see. It is so much easier for your rational brain to stay in the game if the task at hand doesn't appear to be overwhelming. So I just wanted to, we talk about gathering everything and having everything together, and that's great, but with all the stuff that happens in life, if all those things gathered together are giving you this sense of frustration and overwhelm, then you need to separate out, even if you take the one box you're working on and go to another room, so that you can't see all that stuff. So that old saying, out of sight, out of mind. So keep that in mind as you're organizing. When you find yourself just overwhelmed, frustrated, discouraged, you can either totally shut down from the project and walk away for a while, or you can just think to yourself, maybe I just need to take a small thing and go sit at the dining room table where I can manage this and get this done. Success begets success, and it doesn't matter if it's a little tiny bit of success or if it's a huge success. One little thing motivates you to do the next thing. You get that little rush of dopamine in your brain when you've done something, you've completed something, and it inspires you to move forward. So whatever you need to do to get that, that's what you're after, because that'll keep you fired up and moving along. Okay, so there's my brain lecture for the morning. I'll try to stay off my brain soapbox for the rest of the day here. All right, so the challenge of organizing these things is that they're all different shapes and sizes, and so you think it's difficult to bring those things together. Stamps, physics, whatever it is, mounted, unmounted, and they all seem to require a different method of organization. But they don't. They're going to stick with the same system that we've been working on this whole time, the system that you're training your brain, the way that you're training your brain to think. So, so the system is the same. It's just the method of storage that changes. So we talked a little, are you got a little or got a lot? And I probably need to move this slide now to the first challenge, because now that we've sort of coined these words, and I have one more. I don't know if Merle's online with us this morning, but I have a special term for Merle, and she's got it all girl, so I'll have to share that with her. I just thought about that the other day. But depending on who you are. Now, one of the other, here I'm back on my brain thing again, one of the other really important things about organizing is taking some time to figure out who you are. Now, figuring out who we are creates a lot of anxiety for people. It evokes this sense of fear in a lot of people. But remember, nothing bad will happen. You don't have to share who you are with anybody else. You don't have to talk about it. You don't even have to write it down. I would recommend that you write it down because it's a little bit easier to reinforce. But going through the thought process of who am I? Am I somebody who likes to have a lot of stuff around me because it creates this comfort zone for me? That's the one end of the spectrum. And then there's the other end of the spectrum of people who say, I don't want a lot of stuff around me because it weighs me down and I don't feel like I can get anything done. So somewhere on that line you are. You may be at either end, but most likely you're somewhere in the middle with the stuff that you have, what creates comfort and what creates stress. So you need to decide as you're moving forward, are you going to be a got a little, somebody who has a few of each thing? Are you going to be a got a lot, somebody who has lots of things, all the fun toys, almost like a collector, but you like to share all your stuff. You like to make sure you have everything. I know my sister is a got a lot, and one of the things that brings her joy is that when she has things that other people need, she has an opportunity to share with them and make their lives better or make their lives easier or whatever. So wherever you are on that spectrum, you need to identify it because it's going to dictate a little bit about how you organize. So you can either choose the got a lot method or the got a little method, or you can mix them up. So you might be a got a lot for stamps, but just a got a little for, physics or, spellbinders or something like that. So, but take some time and determine who you are and who you might be. So if you're just getting into stamping and you love it, and you think this is something that I'm probably going to do a lot more of, then you want to set yourself up to become a got a lot. You might be a got a lot right now for something else that you don't want to do anymore, and then you want to set yourself up for got a little and be ready to purge those other things out. But take some time thinking about it because it's really going to help you in the big picture of getting your things organized. If you're a got a little, you're going to integrate product representations and in some cases the actual product right into your 4-section system. If you're a got a lot, you're going to create a standalone catalog to keep with your 4-section system, and that catalog will include a huge number of things. So if you're a got a little and you're working with representations, what you're going to do is create representations of each thing and put those representations into your 4-section system. So as an example, if you have a stamp that's a gift box, it'll work in a number of categories: birthday, Christmas, Hanukkah, wedding, baby graduation, etc. In this case, 6 categories. So you would make 6 impressions of that stamp. You're going to number the stamp. So if you saw back here in the corner of the little stamp example, there's a number 15. So this gift box stamp is stamp number 15. You're going to number the stamp or the die cut or the punch, whatever it is that you're working with. So whether this is a physics die or a spellbinder's die or just a regular good old-fashioned punch, it's going to get a number on it. You're going to write the number, in this case the stamp number, on the impression. So if you had a gift box punch, you would punch out 6 gift box punches and you would write the number on the punch. We're doing stamps. We stamp out the impressions and we're going to write the number on the impression. And then we're going to put the impressions in each one of the categories where it belongs. So if you, with this gift box, it's going to be in the wedding section and in the Christmas section and in birthday. So when you go to birthday, that little impression, the stamp will be right there in with the rest of your birthday stuff, and you'll say, oh yeah, I have this gift box, that'll be perfect for this stamp, and you can go right to the drawer that's labeled 1 through 20 and pull out stamp number 15. So, and then store the stamp in its proper place, and that's going to be by the number. So whether you're using shelves or boxes or drawers or whatever it is, it's going to go wherever the number on the stamp indicates. So here's an example. Now, as you go through this process, different stamps come different ways. So this is a Stampin' Up set. Obviously, it's a birthday set. I keep the sets together, but indicate that it's a Stampin' Up set by coding it first rather than just the number, which is what I did with my individual woodblock stamps. I use SU. So SU5, this is Stampin' Up set number 5, and those are all the different pieces to that stamp set. And I just photocopied them all at one time rather than stamping them out. So you can photocopy them or you can stamp them out. You can even take pictures of them with your digital camera if you want to do that and give them numbers that way as well. Now, when you're working with your camera, I think this comes up later in the slide actually, but when you stamp it out or photocopy it, you get the exact size of the stamp. But when you take a picture, you get this giant image of the stamp. So there's some issues there with making sure you know what size those stamps are going to be. So why are we numbering? Numbering things like stamps and punches prevents constantly rearranging to fit like products into the correct area. So one of the things that happens when we have bulky things like this is if we have all our stamps in a drawer, the traditional way to store them is to put all your baby stamps together in a drawer and then your beach stamps and then your birthday stamps. Well, if your beach stamp drawer is full and you buy a new beach stamp, now you have to completely rearrange the beach stamp drawer, move something up into baby or down into birthday to fit that next stamp in. So you're constantly rearranging your containers to fit new products in. So that's one of the problems with doing it that way. The other problem with doing it that way is that if you buy a stamp that's like a beach ball stamp could be inked to be a variety of different things based on the color of it, right? You could put it in baby, you could put it in boy, you could put it in sports, and you could put it in beach. But if it's just in your beach drawer, you're never going to see it or remember that you have it when you're working on those other categories. Or you might even have it in summer, like pool party kind of thing. So, so when you are categorizing by exact theme, the information is not as readily available. Whereas if you take that beach ball and stamp it out and put it in a variety of categories, when you're working on the summer fun page and you go to summer, then you're going to see that beach ball in the summer fun page, and you're also going to see it in the beach section when you look at that. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so numbering allows you fast, easy access when you need to find something else. It makes it really easy to put things away. So when you say, okay, I need this gift box stamp, it's stamp number 15, you know exactly where to go to get it. When you're done with it, you know exactly where to go to put it away. You're not working it back in. It has a home. So for got-a-lot, so that's what you're going to do if you're got-a-little. You're going to make those impressions and integrate them into your 4-section system. If you're a got-a-lot, you're going to create your catalog. So creating a catalog that's an actual, excuse me, standalone catalog of your stuff, this is the way to go if you're a got-a-lot or think that potentially you're going to be a got-a-lot. So your catalog is going to follow the 4-section system. It's actually only 3 sections because you don't have a rainbow in there, I guess. So the catalog can easily be transferred to crops or classes or even on shopping trips. So especially for people who like to go to events like Stampin' Up! Or Close to My Heart or those kind of things, if you take your catalog with you to those events, then you're going to buy things that complement rather than duplicate what you already own, and it's easy to take that with you. You don't have to remember, do I already have that, or do I have something similar to that? You can use either a 12 by 12 format or an 8.5 by 11 format, and there is some benefits to either thing. You'll just need some basic supplies, paper, page protectors, hole reinforcers, tab dividers to build your catalog. Now, if you're got-a-little, you should bring all of your stamps and punches. So step 2, after you decide what you are, is to gather, right? It's our normal thing. So you should bring all of your things together if you're a God a little, because you're going to do them all at once. But if you're a God a lot, you're going to start with one type of product, bring all of those together, and work in small groups of products rather than trying to do a lot at once. So you need to decide how and where you're going to store your items. And then you need to get those containers or shelves cleared off or whatever it is. You need to prepare yourself for what you're going to do once those things are organized. And they can go anywhere. You know, some things can go in ScrapRack pages, drawers, shelves, boxes, but they need to be alone in that organized only space. They need to be ready to fit into that organized only space. Okay, so God a lot, if you have a lot of different products, then you might need to come up with, before you ever start, you need to come up with a list of how you're going to code things. So woodblock kit, acrylic unmounted, Stampin' Up, Close to My Heart, whatever it is that you have, you want to kind of create a code list to start with. Now, lots of people try to shortcut this step. It's a small, easy step, but it will really help to have that list on your bulletin board or sitting next to you when you're coding things, because you won't guess. Like if you think, oh, I'm just going to, any of my woodblock stamps, I'm going to label WB. So you start your project today, and then 3 days later you go back to finish it, and you think, was I labeling those stamps before? Was I just labeling them block with a B, or was I labeling them W for wood? So write the list and keep it next to you so you don't have to guess at what you were labeling things or go back and check them. And even the list can go in the very front of your catalog, because as you bring new products in, once you're organized, you're going to want to reference that list as to how you had labeled them. So to start the process, you're going to go through one container at a time, stamping, punching, copying, etc., onto the catalog sheets and coding and numbering the products and their representations. When you're finished, you're going to label the containers where you sorted the catalog items with the numbers. So if you're doing punches, you might be able to fit 12 punches in the drawer or in the box. So you're going to number those punches 1 through 12, punch out all the impressions, put the punches in the box, label the box 1 through 12, and put the impressions in your 4-section system, or they'll be on the catalog sheet. Now, some people will do both. So some people will create a catalog, and I think this comes up again on another slide. Some people will create a catalog that's a standalone catalog and also put the representations in their 4-section system. So that's a decision you should make in the beginning also, so that you can follow through with it. So it does help to have those stamped impressions or those punched out impressions right in your 4-section system. It's just going to be the same thing. If it's the number 15, you're going to write 15 on it, and you'll know exactly where to go to find it. And you can do with everything. So here's a couple of examples of catalogs. So the one on the left side in the yellow paper is it's done on 12 by 12. It's unmounted stamps on that specifically, and I just photocopied the stamps and then put them on, a big 12 by 12 paper and wrote the category at the top. So it's the same as my 4-section system. A has animals, so there's all my stamps with animals. Now, these stamps might also be other places, like the monkey stamp is probably going to also be in zoo. I probably also put the monkey stamp under boys, because that's the nickname for my children, is the monkeys. So anywhere that it might also work, you're going to put that there. And then the number on these represents where they are, which you'll see in my ScrapRack, because I actually have a catalog of stamps, those unmounted stamps in ScrapRack pages grouped by size. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Now the image on the right is 8.5 by 11. And again, it's just the different stamps and punches for each of the categories in the 4-section system. And then they're just numbered, whether they're in a drawer or a box or whatever, with where those can be found. And so the categories there, again, same thing, 4-section system categories. So you saw that here, the stamps. This is stamp number 12109, 12112, 6102, 6101. And those correspond with ScrapRack pages. So the stamp catalog is in the front. The stamps follow. and then you see the tab that's labeled 12. So any of my stamps that start with the number 12 are going to be behind that tab, and what that means is they are in a 12 pocket page, which has now become a 16 pocket page. So you can see I changed the numbers here. When we came out with the Sweet 16, I then could go from just having 12 stamps on a page as a dollar stamp to having 16 of the little small stamps on a page. So I moved them over to the Sweet 16 page. So you can see here's all the little stamps, and the pockets are numbered to correspond. So if I need stamp number 16107, I'm going to go behind that tab that's labeled 16, and I'm going to see all the stamp numbers in order there. Now with Stampin' Up, I just labeled SU, whatever it was. So you can see here my basket is Stampin' Up 1 through 9. So this has 9 Stampin' Up stamp kits in it, and they're just labeled on the top with what they are. But I know from the images in my catalog, if I want Stampin' Up set number 5, exactly what that is. I don't have to pull them all out and look at them or flip through them. I can just go right there and find exactly what I want. Some of the Stampin' Up stamps came with, I don't have anything that's relatively new from Stampin' Up, I guess, but they have this sticker sheet that you see in the upper right-hand corner that went on the backs of the stamps to show what they were. So I just photocopied the sticker sheet in that situation and labeled it. So there's another option is to use photo storage boxes and files. So our new photo storage boxes and files, because they're slightly oversized, will work great for storing stamps, nestabilities, even embossing folders. So you'll want to have the same examples of these items to your 4-section system and your catalog sheets. You just number the photo storage box and put them in the box in little file folders. So you might have 3 embossing folders in a file folder, but it would be labeled, you know, EF, embossing folder 1 through 3, 6, 4 through 6, whatever it is, and then in the box. So you could just go right to the box and flip through the file and find it. Cricut cartridges, again, and the same kind of thing where you got all these big long boxes. You can leave them in the boxes, but the key is going to be labeling the boxes with the numbers and putting the representations of those Cricut cartridges right into your 4-section system. So the Facebook group has done a lot of work already getting links to Cricut cartridge images. So I believe it's in the docs file. If not, someone can correct me, but you can go to the Facebook page and get the links to all the Cricut, what's on the cartridges, and download a single page and put it. So if you have a Christmas cartridge, you're going to number the cartridge or the box. We'll see a couple of examples coming up of that. But you're going to put the example of the cartridge right in your Christmas section. So as you're working on Christmas pages, you can flip through and go, oh, I have that Christmas cartridge. I would have totally forgot about it. I can use that here. So there's a couple of ways to store them. You can store them in the box that's on the left, and this box is going to hold 16 cartridges. And there's a little video on our website about numbering the tray and numbering the cartridge and numbering the booklet, so you know that all of those things go together. The picture on the right side is our new Cricut storage page, and it'll hold, it'll actually hold, it's designed to hold 1 of each thing, but it'll actually hold 2. So if you go to the website, you'll see that Merle has loaded hers up, and she's got 2 cartridges in each pocket and 2 booklets. But you can see these are actually Merle's cartridges and booklets, and you can see that the cartridge has a number 40 on it, and the booklet has a number 40 on it as well. So you know those are the things that go together. So you can always put them away together in that process. So the new Cricut cartridge page, I'll show you where it is on the website, but it's coming in at the end of the month. So, oh, and here's a couple more examples. Here's Merle's example of, so she's got 2 cartridges and 2 booklets and 2 overlays. So each pocket is loaded full. Now the pockets do have a large gusset on them. They get a little bit heavy when you start loading them up that way, just so you know, but they do work. And then, but that gusseted pocket also works great for other kinds of bulky embellishments or things that you want to take to a crop that you're gathering together in particular colors or whatever it is. So you can see we've loaded up the one on the left side just with some other things. So just because it's designed for the Cricut cartridge doesn't mean it's not going to work for other things, especially like you can see we put the Adirondack inks in there, and then some corresponding inks from Quick Quotes in there as well. So if you're going to a crop and you know you're going to use those things, you can take those color categories with you in one of those pages and have them with you at the crop, and everything's all together and nice and neat, but easy to put away when you get home. So definitely having some of these storage pages just empty that you can load up and take with you when you're going to a crop, rather than taking all of your inks or all of your chalks, is a great way to go. So we even have a little box of wire in there. So, and more of these pictures are not, the Cricut cartridge pictures on the website, but the other pictures haven't been added yet, but we'll get those on there for you. Another way to do the Cricut cartridges is to just put a little piece of Velcro on them and put them on a divider, and now you can put tons of cartridges on one sheet, and then you can see, you know, on the left side there, this gal's got her catalog sheets of what is what's on all those cartridges as well. So numbering the cartridges makes it easy because they're going to correspond with the sheet. So it makes it really simple to actually get maximum use out of those cartridges. If you like to keep your boxes and you keep your books and your overlays and your cartridges in your boxes, you just want to do the same thing. So here's an example of Cricut alphabet number 101. And so you see the boxes in the background are labeled the same, but this alphabet sheet would probably be, for me, it looks very school-like, right? So it would be, I'd have a copy of it in alphabet section, and I would also have a copy of it in the school section or back to school section or September, wherever you put your school things, so that when you go again, when you're looking at back to school, that alphabet pops up and you know you can go to Cricut Alphabet 101 box and pull it off the shelf and you're ready to go. So you don't have to constantly be rearranging those boxes and putting them in alphabetical order. You can just give them a number and keep them numerically in line if you're using a catalog system. So this is actually, you know, we're looking at two different kinds of sets here, the Cricut alphabets and then the Cricut, I don't remember what the T means now, theme, Cricut theme 101, 102. So the images for those would be labeled CT. But again, when you get a new one, you don't have to rearrange and put Christmas after birthday or whatever. You just give it a number and put those impressions in your catalog. So here's what that punch storage would look like in the numbered catalog. So this catalog has the butterfly punches. The punches are punched out. It says they're in drawer 11D, so you would go to drawer number 11, and that's where you would find those butterfly punches. Really simple. Simple to find them, simple to use them. Start a catalog page even if you only have one thing that fits that theme or category. So if you have a sports category in your 4-section system, but you only have one sports stamp, in this case a golf stamp, the temptation is going to be to set that aside and say, oh, I'll start that category later when I have more punches or stamps or Cricut or whatever. Now, your catalog can be everything. It can have your Cricut representation, your Sizzix, your punch, whatever it is. Everything for sports that's a tool that's not going to go in your ScrapRack can be right there on that same page. And just the way you label it is going to direct you to where it is. But don't succumb to that temptation to wait and start a catalog page for it later. Just do it now, even if it's only one thing. And then the next thing you buy is so you buy a soccer ball punch. When you punch out that soccer ball, you already have the sports page ready to go. You can add it to that, give the soccer punch a number, and put it away wherever it goes in the next empty space in your drawer. So even things like embossing folders, you want to just make an impression of it and put it wherever it might work in your 4-section system. And so things may go in multiple places. You know, numbers, obviously, that was designed probably for birthday cards, so that's going to go in birthday, but it's also going to go in alphanumeric. Bricks might go in home. If you're supposed to be doing any kind of construction project or whatever. Might also go in travel. If you go to places, if you're going to Old World Italy, that brick background might work well there. So you might have those bricks in the travel section as well. Anywhere that your brain might possibly think that's a use for that embossing folder, you're going to put it there. So wherever your brain might possibly need it and look for it. So Make multiple impressions if you need to, or make one impression and cut it up into smaller pieces and just put the number on it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the full size of the embossing folder. It can be. So you can see in this picture we've got them stored in the Fabulous 4 pocket page. But again, they'll also store nicely in the photo storage box in the files or using sticky notes in a box. But same thing, get those numbers on them and get the impressions in your 4-section system. Same thing with the little Cuddlebug embossing folders. You're going to handle those the same way. Okay, so this week's challenge is to catalog 20 things a day for the next 7 days, or 140 items over the course of the next week. You can continue through the process by doing a little each week until everything is cataloged, or you can catalog things as you use them. And there's 2 sort of schools of thoughts on this. And again, it's going back to who you are and really questioning yourself about who you are and what you use and how you use your supplies. So there's 2 schools of thought on cataloging as you use. And the first one is, if I haven't used it, I don't need it. So if you're cataloging as you go, as you use things, and at the end of the year, you say, you know what, I haven't even touched these things in a year. They've never made it into my catalog. I'll probably never use them. I feel good about purging them, right? So that's one way to think about it. The other way to think about it is, if I didn't use them because I didn't know they existed, I had totally forgotten about them. And if I take the time now to catalog all of them and put them away, then I will use them more. So whichever way you want to think about that, it's kind of a tough call, or maybe somewhere in the middle where you say, okay, if I haven't used it in 2 years, or I haven't used it in 3 years, or whatever it is, I'm gonna get rid of it. So just a couple different ways to think about that. So I'm going to open up for questions, but I do want to just make a couple of announcements. Tonight at 6 o'clock, I am going to be live with Lacey Wellborn of Weekly Scrapper, and we're just going to do what's called a Twitter party where you can write in and ask questions, and I will answer them, and she kind of moderates that. I've never done it before. I'm kind of excited about it. So if you're around at 6 tonight and you want to jump into the Twitter group, it's at, not at, but hashtag ScrapChat, and I'll put some information up on the website about it as well, and probably include it in the email that goes out this afternoon. Maybe a separate email so I can let other people know. But it's an opportunity to ask questions, or if you have friends that you've been trying to encourage to get organized, you can email them and say, hey, you should jump on this tonight and get some of your questions answered. We'd love to have all of you on board with that, and it'll be really fun. And I'm a little excited about it because it's something I've never done before. We do have some Cricut cartridge storage and other goodies that are available on our Cool Tools page. So let me, let's just get through the announcements. So I'll show you where those are. And then the Digital Idea Organization webinar is on July 10th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And it will be posted on the Summer Challenge page after it's done. And you can register for it now. That's at the bottom of the Summer Challenge page. So it's the Tuesday after we finish this challenge. It'll be the next Tuesday, but it's not part of the challenge, so you have to sign up for it again in order to get the webinar login and access. So let me just do that now, and then we'll come back here. So that's not what I want. I want this. Okay, so here's what on the website page. Once you log into the website, and you're going to go to the Overwhelmed to Organize Summer Challenge, and the login for or the registration is just down at the bottom for the July 10th Get Your Digital Ideas Organized webinar. Now I'm going to do it with OneNote, but you can also do it with Evernote, which is free. So if you don't have OneNote on your computer, I actually think I'm going to try and do kind of a double screen thing. So for people who don't have OneNote, we'll actually get a good idea of it. Evernote is a free download also. So if you don't have either one of those things, then you can download Evernote and you can work with that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the question panel. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and type those in. Let's see. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I know you guys don't get to see the question panel, so I just shows up as a black, it's a black box on your screen, but let me move it over here. Okay. Lori Ann asks, any new products available in Chantilly? Yes, we have a limited, or we will have a limited number of products that come in via air freight from China for the Chantilly show. So if you're interested in the new products, I would make our booth one of your first stops. I'm sure we'll still have some stuff Saturday morning, so if you're not coming till Saturday, it's not panic, but I would say come early Saturday morning because the supply on those are limited. And if you're there on Friday, I would definitely come Friday. I guess I can't guarantee we're going to have products Saturday, but I would hope that we would. Sherry says, photos and paper seem to be my biggest challenges. I've decided to use paper racks from my sister's scrapbook store for colored cardstock arranged in rainbow order and use the ScrapRack for patterned paper or paper not cardstock. Photos will just take years to finish sorting. But I have made a dent in it. Thanks for the encouragement and the great advice. And you are so welcome, Sherry. I'm so glad that you're making progress. Karen says, I have been so frustrated with stamps. So I just want to reinforce that. Don't let your rational brain wander off on you. Just take a small amount of stamps, one shoebox full of them, or one basket full of them, and just work through those. And put them away, and because you don't have to worry anymore about organizing them by theme. So you're not going to constantly be reworking things in. You're going to put numbers on them, which means you can take your very first basket or box or drawer or whatever it is of stamps and just do those. And when you're done numbering those 20 or 40 stamps, the next time you have time, then you take the next basket and it just starts with number 41. So just the idea of that continuum, that you don't have to be leaving space for things or rearranging things, is going to make your life so much easier and so much less frustrating that you're not organizing to the container, as Merle would say. So definitely go slowly and don't let yourself get overwhelmed. Again, out of sight, out of mind is very, very powerful, ladies. So put things, either bring the box that you're working at into a clean space where there's not a lot of distraction, or put everything else that you need to work on in a closet or in another room and just bring into your scrapbook room one box at a time. So, but don't let yourself get overwhelmed by seeing too many things. That will really help. Sheila said the email announcement for the pre-order sale said Friday, June 2nd. Was that a typo? Yeah, it was probably supposed to be Friday, June 22nd, I believe. So yes, the pre-order sale will go through this Friday. Barbara says, what does LSS stand for? Sorry, Barbara, it stands for Local Scrapbook Store. Sorry. Old industry cheat notes there, your LSS. Sherry says, on stamps, what about quotes or words? Some would go in almost any category. That would make for a lot of impressions and work. How would you handle that? What about background stamps? Do you just make a background category? So great question. Remember that you want to put, obviously, a stamp that says happy birthday in the birthday section, but there are all kinds of quotes that are super general. And so what I use in my ScrapRack is under W. I have a second section that's just labeled WOW, and that's spelled wow, but it means words of wisdom. And so anything that's like that, that's generic, I would just put an impression of that in the words of wisdom section. And then when I'm looking for inspiration, and you can even group them by size. Sometimes you're trying to fill a block, that's 2 by 2, and sometimes you're trying to fill a block that's 6 by 6. So you can group those word stamps even by dimension, and then if you're looking to fill a certain amount of space, it's even easier from that point. But that's the place to just put all your generic things. So the same thing if you have, stickers or rub-ons or something that are the same, just words of inspiration, those can all go in that section too. And then again, you're training your brain. When I'm looking for a little poem or I'm looking for a quote, I know it's in that words of wisdom section. So, and some of them are going to go in both sections, right? So something that might sound a little bit birthday-ish, but it's not birthday specific, you might put in birthday and in words of wisdom. The word congratulations might go in graduation and in wedding, and then also in the words of wisdom section as well. So there's a couple options for you there. And background stamps. Do you just make a background category? You absolutely can. And so in that background category, obviously, like I said, the embossing folder with the numbers, right? That's going to go in birthday. It's going to go in alphanumeric, but it might make a good background for school, something for school also. So you could do, again, spread those out and then have all your background stuff together in one place that are really kind of generic things. So you might have something with music notes or timepieces that's just like a background stamp, or dots or squares or whatever it is, and they may be in a couple of categories. You can absolutely do a background category. And again, if you just do it by stamp size, then you're able, if you're using a ScrapRack especially, you're able to fill those pockets efficiently. So that's why the numbering system with the pockets is what it is. So I can fill a complete Sweet 16 page because I'm using that number 16 to tell me where that stamp is and what size it is. So if I just numbered those unmounted stamps, number 1, number 2, number 3, and they were different sizes, then I'd have to sort through the pockets differently. So I hope that makes sense. It's a little bit of a confusing method there, but it allows you to fill your pocket pages really efficiently. Karen says, do embossing folders come under this challenge? Yes, and so she put that in early, so I'm sure you saw that pop up, Karen. But again, they're just going to go in whatever category. You can store them in ScrapRack pages or in those file folders. I need to get an image of the file folder so it makes a little bit more sense. But just numbered and accessible is going to be the key. Christina says, I am such a God-a-lot that this is going to take me a year, I think, but it will be worth it in the end. It will be worth it in the end. And here's another maybe little tip, which we talked about sorting, when I do the classes at the shows, is that you may want to pull things together as you're working. So if you have tons of stamps and punches and Cricut and all that stuff, and you're going to be working on Christmas pages, you may want to go and pull all of those things when you're working on your Christmas pages and get those organized as you're working on Christmas, and so that you can actually use them in the process of the project, and you're cataloging them as you go relative to that theme. I hope that makes sense to everybody. But that way, you don't feel like you're just plodding through mountains of stuff. You're actually using your stuff and cataloging it at the same time. So it's sort of multitasking in a way. I don't really like that word, but so that you're getting sort of two things done at the same time, and you're seeing the benefit of that catalog and being able to put those things away in the organized only space when you're done with them. So that's another option for people who have a lot of stuff, is to sort of work through it as you work on projects, either as the solitary method or combining it with a method of what we're doing in the challenge, 140 pieces through the week. Sherry says, love this way of cataloging. This is amazing. Thanks. You're so welcome. You're going to love it when you get it done. This will make your life so much easier. And you'll use so much more stuff. And you'll know what you're not using. You'll know what you can purge comfortably so that you can buy stuff that you're going to love to work with. All right, Krista says, I love the 4-section system and I'm planning on making it a lifelong part of my scrap organization. Can you talk about adding themes years from now I don't have now? Is it complicated to go through and add a new theme? It's absolutely not. So it's just, that's one of the nice, that is right, Krista, you have nailed the biggest benefit to the 4-section system, is that you don't have to rethink your organization system every time you add something new, a new theme, a new holiday, whatever it is, or when you're done with something. So if you have babies right now, you probably have a section that's for babies. And as your kids move out of the baby phase and you get all caught up on their baby stuff, and they move into the next phase of their life, that baby section can disappear easily out of your 4-section system. You're going to purge the stuff that you're not going to use. You're going to end up with empty ScrapRack pages that then can be used as your kids move into the school age years. So it really makes it simple. And all you really have to do is rearrange things alphabetically. So if you're moving from, the baby phase and you want to start a section for school, now you just go to your S section and put school in front of sports and you're ready to go. So it doesn't have to be any big deal. It's really, really simple to just integrate a new category or remove an old category. But the beautiful thing about it is you don't have to rethink the whole organization strategy. You just have to move things over, take things out, and put the new things in. So you've just really nailed it with that. That's the beauty of using the 4-section system. So you're in good shape. Okay. Chris, this sounds easy now. Krista says, sorry, staring at my shelves and thought of another question. What about those scissors that cut patterns? Those are so generic, scallops, wavy, jagged, etc. How would I catalog those? And it's the same thing. So if you're going to do a background, now I'm recording this using the headset on my phone, and I just had a call try to beep through it. So just really quickly, I just want to ask you to make sure that you can still hear me. If you can hear me, raise your virtual hand so I know that things are still coming through even though my phone is beeping something else. So, okay, perfect. I see lots of hands coming up, so that's good. Okay, so let's go back to those scissors, right? So Krista asked how to store those the scissors. And so it's the same thing. So if you're going to have a background section or a shape section or whatever, they could go right in there. Or you might have a catalog sheet that is just scissor patterns also right in your catalog. And then you can just give your scissors the same kind of number. So some of us only have 3 or 4 pairs of scissors, so that's not a big deal. They're just in the, in the tray or whatever, or in the stand-up thing. But if you've got 20 pairs of scissors, just number them, 1 through 20 right on the handle. Now, Sharpie makes a silver Sharpie. So if you're trying to write on black, you can get that silver Sharpie at Office Depot, which, by the way, if you have never discovered the silver Sharpie and you have kids, it's an awesome tool for labeling the inside of their jackets and stuff because it doesn't wash off. So, and it's silver, so it shows up. But then you can number the handles on the scissors, and the same thing. So you might have a scissor that cuts a wavy pattern, and you might put an example of that on the scissor cuts page, but also you might put an example of that in the beach section or the summer section, water, or whatever it is. Depending on what that pattern looks like to you, you could incorporate it into themes as well if it's appropriate, but you can just do the same sheet. Now, the other beautiful thing about that is when you have that sheet of those scissor patterns all made up, and you might be able to get those patterns right off the internet also. You may not actually even have to cut the patterns yourself now that I'm thinking about it. The scissors have never come up before. So I don't think there's anything on Facebook about it, but you may be able to find them online. But the nice thing about it is if you have the catalog, if you're a Got-A-Lot, and you go to the local scrapbook store or to Michael's or whatever, and you have your catalog and you're looking at those scissors, you'll know which ones you already own, so you won't buy the same ones over again or ones that are really similar to something that you have. So just catalog them the same way. So excellent question, Chris. I can't believe in the 2 years I've been teaching this that questions never come up. Brenna says, I know I've said this before, but I'm a keeper of everything. If I store my cartridges in the pages, do I throw them away? And if I do, how do I tell myself it's okay to throw it away? And I think, Brenna, what you're asking is, do you throw the boxes away? So I know I've said this before. So there's a couple things about the Cricut boxes. If you are going to keep your Cricut forever and ever and you love it and you know you're not going to sell the cartridges or whatever, I know some people have mentioned that they will sell their Cricut cartridges after they've used them for a while, and so they need to keep those boxes, whether they store them on the top shelf of a closet in a box or whether they put them in the attic or whatever. So there's that option. So it just kind of depends on what you're going to do with them. I would throw the boxes away because they take up so much more space than is necessary with the Cricut cartridges. If it's hard for you to throw things away, get someone to help you. So if you know that you're going to keep your Cricut forever and you want to throw the boxes away but you just can't do it, tell one of your scrap pals, here's what I need to get rid of. You know, if it's still sitting in this closet, in the front hall closet when you come over next month or this date, sneak it out to your car and throw it away for me. I'll never know it's gone, right? So come up with some ways to trick yourself or incentivize yourself even. Like if I can get rid of these things, then I can do this. A lot of times that really will help with it too. So I hope that answers your question. Sherry says, can you use the system for punches, cataloging, and putting in the ScrapRack with punches stored on the towel bars? Absolutely. So that you're going to do the same thing. You just, yeah, she just writes, would you label the punch with a Sharpie and then mark the sheet with PR 101 for Punch Rack 101? Yes, absolutely. You're right on track, Sherry. That's exactly it. Then you take that punch off this punch bar and you put it back on the punch bar when you're done and you're good to go. So it's perfect. It's a perfect solution. Oh, Lori says brick embossing folder could be the yellow brick road. So right, so whatever you think about, great example, Lori. However it works to you that embossing folder or die cut or spellbinder or whatever it is might work, then you can put it in whatever category that might be. And with that said, when you bought that brick embossing folder, you probably bought it with some sort of intention. So make sure that it gets in that category as well. So like I said, you know, old world buildings if you're traveling through Europe or whatever. So then you're going to want to put it in travel if that's why you bought it, and also put it in embossing, put it in the embossing folders in the background section. Nancy says, could you be more specific of where the images are on the Facebook page? I have looked and looked and can't find it for the Cricut images. So if there's anybody on right now who's a Facebook master, they might be able to type in and give me some more information. But generally, those things have been cataloged in the docs page. Now, if I'm remembering correctly with Cricut, there's a resource on the internet, and we just the link to it just keeps getting posted on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook now, Nancy, just post on there on the group, where can I find the images for the Cricut cartridges? And I think now that we're talking about it more, I think there's actually a link to a place on the web where all those images are posted. So, and if someone has a better answer or a more specific answer, I'm sorry, I'm kind of vague on that. I photocopy the back of my box and put that photocopy. Now, it does not give every option when you look at the back of the box, but it gives me enough to know that it's Christmas or Batman or whatever it is, and where that cartridge is. So I just photocopy the back of the box, but it would be easier to just print things off the internet rather than make photocopies of them. What is Evernote and OneNote? I got a couple of questions in a row of that. Evernote is a downloadable notebook for your computer, so it allows you to take notes just like you were working on a 3-ring binder. It lets you put dividers in and add pages in and doodle in the margins. They're both the same. Evernote and OneNote are the same. OneNote, if you have Microsoft Office, you probably already have OneNote. So if you type it into your search box on the Programs panel, so I'll show you what it would look like here. Well, that's not what I want. Hang on a second. So if you go back here, if you go to here, right? So you bring this up, and then you just typed in OneNote. If you have it, it'll just bring it right up. So mine's opening in the background here, but it'll bring it right up for you. So just type in OneNote, and then you'll know if you have it. If you don't have it, Evernote, which is one word, obviously it's something on the internet, so there's no space, but it's the same thing, and it's free, or it's a very similar thing, and it's free. I'm going to talk about both of those. So this Overwhelmed Summer Challenge is my first experience with the ScrapRack. Help! Do you have a ScrapRack? That's from Teresa. I'm sorry, I try to say people's names first so you don't think I'm just saying a random stuff. So Teresa writes, this Overwhelmed Summer Challenge is my first experience with the ScrapRack. Help. So we're happy to help. I just need some more, something more definitive. And also the Facebook group is an amazing group, and I got a really wonderful letter this morning that said from someone just about the value of the Facebook group and being able to type in and ask a question at 3 o'clock in the morning and being able to get a response and support. So if you have specific questions or just you want general information, the Facebook group are people who have been with us since the beginning, which is now almost 2 years, and taken multiple challenges, and so they have lots of answers and lots of resources, and then the new people are there as well. So it's really a great group of people for helping. Angie says, I asked this last week but had to leave the webinar early. Are you coming to the Scrapbook Convention in Duluth? Absolutely. We will be there the first weekend in July. So I think it might say the Atlanta show on our website, but it's the Duluth show, and we will be there, and we will have some products. When will the new products be available in Canada? Everything will be available the very end of this month or the first part of July. Now, I did get, all that said, I did get an email from our shipping company that said there's a lot going on with the longshoremen right now because they're renegotiating their contract. So, with a deep breath, in the past when the longshoremen have had issues with their contracts, that's created a slowdown at the port where they specifically tried to do things very slowly to make people like us put pressure on to give them raises or meet their demands or whatever it is so that we can get our products, so that we can stay in business, because obviously if we don't have anything to sell, we don't have a business. So that is coming up this summer, and hopefully, because at the end of the month is when our stuff is due, and the contract's not due until September, hopefully we're going to miss all that. But I guess I should add that caveat that says, depending on how the longshoremen are negotiating, we will or will not have things right at the end of the month. And then they'll be available in Canada as well. Heather says, forgive me for being naive. I have no idea what she is talking about here. She mentioned 2 monitors, but that wasn't enough to figure out what OneNote or Evernote means. Please assist. So I think, sorry, Heather, I think I've cleared that up about what they are. And when I said 2 monitors, I didn't really mean 2 monitors. I'm sorry. I'm sure that was confusing. What I will do is open on my computer 2 windows so that if you're watching that digital organization webinar next month and you're using OneNote, or if you're using Evernote, I will be able to show you kind of in both programs, I hope. That's my goal anyway. So sorry if that was really confusing. Okay, Tiffany, Deanna says, Tiffany, thank you for the series. It has helped me greatly. I use a Paddle machine, so my cutting files are all electronic. Would you recommend creating a paper catalog for the electronic cutting files, or like you demonstrated today, or should I stay all electronic and rely on folders and file names for organization? It just depends on how you work, Deanna. I guess that's another opportunity for a little self-evaluation. So if you're comfortable going through those files, now I would strongly recommend that you keep your files or copies of those files. That's one of the beauty of electronic, labeled and organized in the same 4-section system, so that if you're working on marching band pictures, that you have a marching band section in your ScrapRack 4-section system or your file folders or whatever you're using, and then you have a marching band section for your puzzles also, so you're going to the same place just electronically. So as long as, some people need them cut out or printed out or an example of them in their physical thing that they see, and other people are really good about going to the computer and looking under that same file name to see what else they've got. So it just kind of depends, with how you work either way. I personally would probably print them out, or an example of the file, or maybe even just put a note in that section that says, don't forget that you have this from Puzzles, because really what you're trying to do is get as much information in one place so that you remember that you have it and that you use it. And sometimes that needs to be a physical example, and sometimes it just needs to be a note that says, hey, don't forget you have the Puzzles marching band graphics file. So whichever way is going to work for you to incorporate them in. Teresa says, this is my first challenge, so bear with me. Am I to assume that you categorize what you have in one section and place the actual item in another section. It depends what you've got. So whether you're using and what tools you're using. So essentially, with something like the embossing folders, let's bring that slide up here. It's a little bit bigger. So with something like the embossing folders, you would make these examples of them and maybe put them in multiple places. So the music notes would be in the music section, would be in Night on the Town, would be in school. You might have it in Christmas. And it says EF 104, and then so that would direct you wherever you saw that example of the music notes that was in Christmas. You would know to go to EF 104 and pull it out. So whether you're using in the background, that's called a Fabulous 4 storage page. So you would know if that's where you had your embossing folder stored to go to that section, or if you stored them in a box that was just labeled EF or embossing folders, 101 through 200, you would be able to go directly to that number 104 and pull it out. Does that make sense? It'll be a lot more clear, Teresa, too, once you have an opportunity to look at the other. I'll go back here to the website really quickly. So on the Summer Challenge page, all these videos that I'm scrolling past right now, you get to those by going to the ScrapRack.com, clicking on the Overwhelmed to Organize Summer Challenge series on the left side there. And then the previous sessions are all recorded on video. So each session kind of builds on the previous sessions in terms of information and strategy and those kind of things. So once you get a chance to go through and watch those beginning ones, then some of the stuff that I'm talking about will make a little bit more sense. Now, that said, the Fall Challenge has been scheduled to start the second week of September. So, if you just want to wait and start from the beginning, watch what these next two challenges and then start from the beginning, you can enroll in that Fall Challenge. With that said, I think that right here, this is the top of the Overwhelmed to Organize page. You can register for the Back to School, Back to Scrapping Fall Challenge, which starts September 11th, and you just click this box, click here to register, and then that'll get you on the list for that. So if you just click on it, you're going to get a screen that looks like this, and you can register there for the fall one so that you start getting those emails when it comes out. Candy says, I just got back from a 5-day scrapbook retreat. I took a lot of my tools for the other ladies to use. However, for what I worked on, thanks to your 4-section system, I was able to take only what I needed. Thank you, Tiffany. You're so welcome. I'm so glad. I hope you got a lot done and you feel really good about this crop. And that's an important thing. So Candy mentioned she took tools for other people to use. So if you're someone who loves to share your stuff or takes pride in the fact that you're kind of the cutting edge and you know what's out there and you have the neatest stuff and you want to share that with your friends, that's an important thing to be aware of. And it's important for a couple of reasons, because first of all, it brings you some sense of gratitude, or not gratitude, but of satisfaction that you're able to help people. But the other thing is that your friends depend on you for that. So if you're going to change your strategy through this and you decide you don't want to bring things for other people, or that's really not what you want to do anymore, make sure you give your scrap pals the heads up, because they don't want to show up at a crop expecting that you'll have all your goodies and then you don't have them. So maybe to disseminate the load or whatever. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the last webinar, getting ready to go to a cropper class. So Ellen says, can you view these online over at another time? I missed the part about the 4 sections. Absolutely, and that's what's in the background screen now. So just go to that page on the website and you can watch whatever ones you want. Where do you file the clear stamping blocks? So those are just going to be with your tools, and depending on how you store your tools now, it just depends what the accessibility is. So for me, let me go back to the website, or I'm going to click. So on the website, there's this picture of my scrapbook room. If you click on that, it'll actually take you through the process of putting that room together and what I did and why I did it that way and what my goals were and all that kind of exciting stuff. So you can see here, I have my screen. So under here on the left side, there's a picture of the desktop, and you can see I have my T-bar under there. It's just kind of sticking out. And then underneath that, that's a little rolling cart. So this is what my desk looks like one picture down. I am going to click on it because it'll actually make it bigger. So my goal is not to have anything on my workspace when I'm working, but to have everything really accessible. So this little cart that's under my desk, that's where I would have my clear blocks. Things that I use all the time are in that. And it just pulls out, and I pull out what I need, and then I can push it right back under. But you can see I don't have anything in boxes that are closed up. Everything's totally accessible. I don't have to, wheel it out and then open a lid and dig out a box or whatever. Everything that's in there is open. Even there's some chalks and stuff in there that are in smaller boxes, those little small chalks, and those boxes are open. I've even broken the lids off some things so that I have that accessibility factor there. Kate says, I hope that helps, as that answers the question. I already have a book with my SU stamp images by alphabetic title of the set, and I have the set sorted in bins by theme. So now I'm going to number them in the book and then number the sets in the bins and label the bins. Happily, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Thank you. Absolutely, Kate. That's a great point. Yeah, if you're like Kate and you already have a system that's going, just add that number component, and then when you get a new set of Stampin' Up! Stamps, instead of having to rework them in alphabetically by title, you can just add the number and add them to your catalog, and then the numbers, so you're not rearranging everything. So that's a perfect point. Thanks for mentioning that, Kate. Christina says, I have stamps that I would not know how to organize. Outline stamps, would you just make a category named outline stamps? You could, absolutely, and you could also put them in sort of that generic category that was brought up, also backgrounds. So things that are not specific to any theme or category could be within that category of sort of non-specifics, where you have outlines and then backgrounds, or you might even have in that shapes. You have all your star stamps, all your, circle stamps or whatever. I don't know what circle stamp would be, but so that those things are all together as well. And remember, the beautiful thing about this is because it has a number on it, you can put one stamp in multiple categories. So it might be in shapes, it might be in fourth if it's a star, it might be in shapes under stars, it might be, and if it's a star background, it might be under stars and also under backgrounds and also under 4th of July. So the beautiful thing about it is that number is going to direct you to where it is. So put it in anywhere that you might possibly use it, and then you'll be able to find it quickly and easily. Karen says, can you put your abbreviations for each thing on the Facebook page, i.e. embossing folders? I will. Let me write myself a note. Post abbreviations on Facebook. Yes, I will do that this afternoon. Cynthia says, I'm sorting paper. My question is, if you have solid paper, then you have pink stripe or pink check, do put all paper colored pink together with a good idea. What a good idea to number everything. Thanks from City and PA. Do you put all colored pink together? Yes. So with paper, I would do solids first, light to dark, and then follow your solids with, I think mine is distressed dots, plaids, distressed dots, florals, plaid, stripes. I think they go in alphabetical order if I'm remembering all of them. But it's the same in every color. So I always know that if I need pink striped paper, that it's going to be behind the solid colored cardstock after the floral paper or whatever, however that goes alphabetically. And the same for blue and the same for green. So if you're looking specifically for stripes or plaids, you know exactly where to go to look for those with that main color base. Cynthia writes, oh, here's the thing I was trying to type, which didn't pop up yet. So Dorothy says, so would you have a separate section in your DR for card making? I have lots of embossing folders with phrases like get well soon, or I think it's supposed to be SRs in your ScrapRack for card making. Get well soon and thanks. Not something I use in my scrapbooks. I could put get well in medical, but card making seems more logical. You could actually do both, Dorothy, I would say, because you're right. You're most likely, if you're doing something that says get well, it's going to be on a card. Thanks is one that could be used for a lot of things, you know, like thanking Santa, thanking my teachers for graduation, thanking whatever. So I would do two. I would put that thanks and that get well in medical, and I would put it in, you know, thanks under words of wisdom or whatever you're going to put it. And then you could have another, since you're doing the catalog, you could have another section that's card making specific. So that if you are looking for get well cards or retirement cards or bon voyage or whatever, you can go right to card making, because it's just a matter of stamping that impression out one more time and numbering it. You can make those catalogs pretty quickly and easily. But the truth is, most of your card making supplies are going to integrate into your scrapbooking supplies, and if you don't integrate them, then you might miss an opportunity to use something like the word thanks on, you know, Christmas pages or whatever, if it's kept totally separate. So I would mix them together. And if especially a lot of people are card makers more specifically, more often than they are scrapbookers. So having that card section is also helpful if you're going to a proper class and you want to take just that section with you all together as well. So I would say do both, definitely. Kay Brassfield. Hi, Kay. In Stone Mountain, Georgia. Love the Cricut cartridge storage items you have. Have a countertop in my scrap room that I've been organizing on. Started with 7 boxes, now down to 4. Nice. Everyone always says I'm so organized, but when I do your system step by step, I found I really wasn't. Found I had products in different types of systems. Forcing myself to work through each product was so important. Now it really is becoming a real system. Now I won't be the bag lady bringing what I don't need to a 3-day retreat or crop. Created some holding binders this week. Love classes, Kay. Well, Kay, I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm so glad that it's working out well for you. And it really is a process for so many of us. I know I joke when I teach the class at the scrapbook shows and say that after you take your very first Scrapbooking 101 class, or you get recruited to go to that first creative memories meeting and you get hooked, the second class that should be required by law is a get organized class. So anyway, thank you for sharing that, and I'm so glad that you're here, that all of you are here. So Cynthia says, oh, the quote she was trying to post, a birth certificate shows you were born, a death certificate shows you died, a completed scrapbook shows you lived. So true. That's a great quote. Oops, went too far here, I think. Okay, Tammy says, is there really such a thing as being caught up? No. Well, I shouldn't say no. I ask that question to everyone when I teach at the scrapbooking conventions, and I would say I've literally taught thousands of organization classes over the years, and I would say if I've had a dozen people in 10 years of classes tell me that they're caught up, I think that might even be an exaggeration. So I'm not sure that we ever get caught up. It's a nice goal, though. Christina says, outlines are stamps that give a shape with multi-designs in the outline. So yeah, I would put those right in. I would start that shape section, background section together. Sarah says, thought I'd share what I do with the backgrounds. I have a theme that is backgrounds, borders, and shapes. In this, I have my background stamps, scissor cut stamps, rotary cutting blades, shape punches, spirals, circles, etc. Stampin' Up around border rollers, etc. It seems to be working well. So Sarah's combined all of those things into that one category, which I'm sure makes it easy for her too. When she adds something new, she has a general category to go to. And again, it's all about your brain and training your brain to look. So if you're doing what Sarah's doing and you have all of those generic things sort of together, then you get in the habit of looking when you want to put a border up on something of where that is and where to go for it, rather than scouting around your room going, well, maybe I could use these scissors, or maybe I might have a stamp or a punch that would work for that border. It's all in that one section. So great job, Sarah, and thanks for sharing that. Janet says, did I miss your explanation of what a punch bar is? A punch bar is where you go to get rum punch when you're on vacation. No, I'm just kidding. A punch bar, and I think most people get them at IKEA, is actually a towel bar. but it's a flat piece of metal. So, you know, most towel bars are round or square, you know, the ones in your bathroom, and sort of, I guess, three-dimensional, for lack of a better term. Well, a punch bar is a flat piece of metal that was originally designed, I believe, as a towel bar or maybe a pot rack. It could be in the kitchen section of IKEA. Someone might be more specific or could post a picture of one. And then I think since then they've actually been sold as punch bars. But you just slide the punch part, you know, where the gap is between where you push the punch down into the paper, right over that bar. So it allows you to hang all those punches right next to each other, so it condenses down the dimension or the amount of space they take up, and it just slides right over that bar, and it doesn't matter how big or small the punch is, it's going to fit over that bar, so you're not dealing with the size issue. It's just more lining them up, and then they're visible, so you can actually see, you know, what the little image is on the punch. And as we were talking about, if you number them again, if you have rows and rows of them, it's easy to go to the punch bar 105 and pull off number 105. So, let's see. Krista says, not that you need advice, but you might also include a mention of .svg files in the webinar. I made a catalog for mine. They work just like stamps, except they're digital, and I use my Cricut to cut them from my computer. So a good point from Krista that you, like, I guess, and that kind of came up with when we were talking about the Tassels folders. You can cut out that sample of an SVG file. So if it's a birthday cake, you can cut it out, write the SVG file name or where it's stored on your computer on that example, and put it right in the birthday section. So again, you remember that you have it. So thanks for bringing that up, Krista, because you're absolutely right. It is definitely a part and becoming more and more a part of our scrapbooking, the digital side of it. Marcia says, joining late, but wondering if you could explain how to store word stuff like metal words saying dream or chipboard words saying time. So again, probably already covered this. I don't know what time you popped in, Marcia, but I've had a couple of questions about it this morning. But just get that words of wisdom section going. And the themes A to Z under W, which is not something we use a lot of anyway. Mine just says WOW, wow, but it stands for words of wisdom. And then you can store those words right in there. And whenever you're looking for something inspiring or a little poem or whatever, so whether it's a rub-on, a chipboard, a metal word, whatever it is, they're all going to be right there in that section. So Kathy says, Google images for Cricut cartridge. So you can Google. You can also go to, Karen has posted, and I'll type it in because it's a short one and send it to you all, http://cartridgelibrary.com. And that looks to be a place to find those Cricut cartridge images. So Janet says, what's a good way to store all the different kinds of adhesives? Permanent, removable, vellum, blah, blah, blah. So it depends on what it is. In my little cart under my desk, the top basket is all adhesives, right, because there's so many different kinds. My big adhesive pink ATG just kind of hangs off the side of my desk. I don't think you can see it in these pictures. But they're just all in one of those little baskets right there. So when I roll it out, I can pick whichever one I want. Now, for flat adhesives like pop dots and those kind of things, I actually have a little tab in my ScrapRack that's adhesives. And I have rulers and adhesives and a few other things, anything that's flat right there in the ScrapRack. And that's really helpful if I'm going to a crop or something. I can pull that sort of tools finder off, so anything that's flat is in there. And I can take it with me and have those things without having to worry about them sticking together or bunching them up or whatever. I don't think I have a picture of that. I'll have to look. Let's see, adhesives page. So the flat ones work great when they're stored in those pockets because they don't stick to anything else. So it makes it handy. But I just have them in that top little basket right there so that I can just wheel it out and pull out whatever I want. Let's see. So these are, Joanna says another, Joanna just mentions that there was a couple questions about more information about the scrap. We have a ton of videos on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and you search ScrapRack Lady on YouTube, it'll pull up all the different videos that we've got. So, can OneNote or Evernote be downloaded to MacBook? Yes. I believe there is OneNote and Evernote. I know for sure Evernote is available for Mac, and I'm pretty sure that OneNote is also. Nancy says, this is not necessarily about the challenge. I just got my ScrapRack last week, and I'm trying to get set up. When I put the 7 spinders on the holder, how come the front section won't stay open? I have gone back to each spinder to ensure they are not overloaded using the pictures on the website. Are pages too heavy? Is there a specific distance to place the first binder? Because I'm a got-a-lot, I've already ordered the extender, but can't imagine this will completely solve my problem. Thanks. You know what, Nancy, I'm not sure if I understand the question clearly. There is that new little video called Getting to Know Your ScrapRack, and that may answer the question. It may just be that you have it set up on its back, which is really common. So, but really a great way to diagnose that is if you don't mind taking a picture and emailing it to customerservice@thescraprack.com, and then we can see exactly what you're talking about and walk you through whatever the problem might be. Lori Ann says, my border punches are often in my crop tote, so I have placed an index card in my punch bin to show that a punch is checked out to a crop, much like a library book, and then I know where the punch is if it's missing. Excellent, excellent thing. And actually, you can do that too with your unmounted rubber stamps. I guess you could do it with your woodblock stamps too if you take them with you. The unmounted stamps are easy because you can just slide it into a little pocket that says you took it or that you lent it to somebody or whatever, and then you know where it is. So thank you for bringing that up. Kay says, if you take things for other people, label them with your name to avoid any sort of trouble. Great suggestion, Kay. Marion says, do you have any cats that help you when you are scrapbooking? How do you keep the kitty fur out of all of your things? So if you're not using a ScrapRack, Marion, you know, or if you're using binders, if you've got things in storage pages, especially the ScrapRack pages have a little flap over the top, so it keeps things like fur and pet dander off your supplies. And you can use a dust cover as well to kind of help with that. But boy, I would say pet hair is always a challenge. So putting things in binders or closed up totes or whatever is probably the best option. But depending on how helpful your cats are, you may just have scrapbooking pages that are have the addition of a few strands of pet hair. Janet says, thank you. I have purchased one of those rolling carts and just love having the everyday stuff so handy. The little rolling carts, they're from Target. They're inexpensive, and they're just a perfect, easy access. Now, the little baskets that are in mine are like, you know, you get them 2 for $1 or something. They're not part of the cart, and they just actually sit on the rails of the cart. There's actually a little shelf in the cart, but I made it a little bit shorter with those baskets. But they really do make it easy. The other thing, interestingly enough, about those baskets is I have other ones. So you can see on the left side, there's a purple basket that has photos in it. So whatever I'm working on, like if I'm working on Disney and I've got all those Disney pictures or something, I have that little basket that I can put them into while I'm working so they don't end up spread out all over my page. But I have other baskets around my office, and so if I'm working on something where I don't need the adhesive basket or I don't need the cutting tool basket or whatever it is that's there, I can take it out and put the thing that I'm working with in and still have that flexibility of putting it under the desk and keeping my desktop clean while I'm working. Karen says, thank you for a great webinar. I'm back on course. Good job, Karen. Angie says, following along with your system, and one I've started a long time ago, I've unmounted all my wood stamps and have them cataloged by theme and numbered and with them in books. I can add to the categories and be more specific about where they are by themes as well. I love this system. I'm so glad, Angie. That's awesome. And yeah, unmounting your woodblock stamps, and I know there's a couple of different ways to do it. Some people use a product like Undo to pull things off of blocks. Some people heat them up with a hair dryer. I'm not sure how all that works. But yeah, if your woodblock stamps take up a lot of space and they're kind of hard to see and access, so if you pull them off the woodblock and use them as unmounted stamps, you can just use an acrylic block then to actually use them. So Althea says, I thought you said there was a document on the Facebook group with the images for each of the Cricut cartridges. Is that correct? Where is it? I've looked through the documents and have not been able to identify which one it is. I think that might have been, I might have given out a little misinformation there. I think it's just a link and that's to Cricut, to Cartridge Library. And we'll post that up on Facebook too. So anybody that's on right now that's also on Facebook, if you have that Cartridge Library link that I just posted, if you can put it up on the Facebook group, that'd be awesome. Julie says, I want to thank you so much for the class. I have never been more organized in my life, especially with my paper. My question, how do you store your stickles? So stickles we're going to talk about next week. But we're going to talk about labeling them and making color examples of them and stuff next week. And there's also some information on the Facebook page too about that. But I don't really want to give it away today, Julie, because I'm going to talk about it next week. But we will do it definitely next week. Amy says, I have made a sample book with all my stamps, like all Christmas together, all flowers together, words together. Is this a system I can keep? I don't have a ScrapRack yet, but I'm leaning towards getting one. You absolutely can keep it. So very much like, I don't remember who talked about her Stampin' Up! Stamps where she already had it done. You just need to add that number now. So, and you can do it as part of your challenge this week and number 140 of them. And the number is just going to, and so you're going to leave them where they are. You're just going to add the number and add the number to the catalog. And then when you get a new stamp, it becomes, if you have 150, it becomes number 151. It gets, the impression goes wherever on your catalog that it might work, and the number 151 goes next to it, and it goes in that next box or bin or drawer or ScrapRack page or whatever with the number 151 so that you'll actually get to use it that way. So no, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to add numbers to your images and your stamps and your golden, and that will count. That will count as categorizing your 140 items this week. Francie says, I have actually got my scrap room almost ready to use after 5 years of trying to make it usable. Now that I have all my tools and paints and chalks and punches and stamps and etc. put in place, I will start sorting my papers and embellishments and pictures. I am so happy with my room, and it's all because you have continued to keep me excited about the ScrapRack. I have 4 center sections and box after box of pages to fill, and I'm excited to finally begin. Plus, I have 2 grown daughters that both scrap, and now I have 3 clear tables for us to scrap together, yay, and make books for my 8 grandchildren and 1 new great-grandchild. Thank you so much, and keep it up. You are so welcome, Francie. I love to hear that. That really makes my day. This is one of the things I enjoy most about my job is helping people enjoy what they're doing. I mean, I really think it came from a personal, I was in a personal place where if I didn't get my things together, I was just going to give up scrapbooking. And it was something that I enjoyed so much, but I was so overwhelmed. And so I kind of had to, you know, save myself. So I know how everybody feels about that, like doing something that you love, but it's just gotten so overwhelming and frustrating that it's not fun anymore. And I'm so happy that you're able to find joy again. Angie says, another question. Don't know if it has been asked before, but how do you store So Easy products? Should I just store it all in one location or make copies of the designs each tool makes and put them in other places? It has mats, tools, and threads included. You know what? I'm not familiar enough with So Easy, but my initial impression is that things that it would be all kept together, and if there's certain things like different stitches or design patterns or whatever, that those would go in that design section where we've been talking about putting scissors and backgrounds, if that works. So I need to look into that. That's not a product that I use, so I'm unfamiliar with it. However, I know Merle uses So Easy, and so I will pick her brain about it when we're in Chantilly this weekend and hopefully be able to post some information or my thoughts on it after we come back from the Chantilly show. Janet says, I use those address labels that come in the mail from so many sources to label all my tools. So yeah, that's a great use for those address labels that you get. Most of us don't send out mail very often anymore. So when you get 150 address labels for St. Jude's, it could take a while to use them up, but that's a great use for them to put them on your tools. So Cricut Cartridge Library is cricut.com/information/cartridge_library.aspx. I cannot cut and paste from this from where you guys post. So unfortunately, I can't share that with everybody without tagging all that out. But if you can please post that on the Facebook page, Kay, that would be great. Shelly, hi Shelly. Shelly Van Wormer's with us this morning, and she says the Cricut storage pages would work really well for the So Easy items. So there's an answer from Shelly, who I know is very much like Merle. She's a, what did I call Merle? Got it all. She's a got it all. So thank you, Shelly, for posting that, and that will gives me a little bit more insight to what those products are. Lori Ann says, floss for So Easy and Rainbow, patterns and So Easy tools kept in smaller container with tools. Another post for a So Easy user. Brenda says, is there a way to store full binders? I am not currently working on vertically on my shelves. You know what? Let me just go to this picture on our website. So let's go back here, and I believe, where is that? I don't know about vertically. I know the thing with vertically is if you're storing them vertically, you have to have something to help them stand up. Now, the dividers work to a certain degree. Let me see. I think there's a picture. Where is that? Of the spinders, where someone has put them on a, maybe they're on this one page. Let's see. Searching. No, I don't see it. Oh, it's in Photo Gallery, I think. So this gal has taken her, there we are. She has taken her spinders and laid them flat on narrow or on shallow, I guess, shelves from, I think they're from Target. They also sell them at Walmart, but they're those grid shelves that kind of snap together with the round connectors. And she's bought extra shelves and then zip tied them in between. So literally you can see where she's laid each of those spinders out and put just a regular office supply file folder label tab on the edge. And so that way you don't have to have all of them out. So if you're working on sports pages, there's no reason you need your Christmas. So you could actually go to this shelf and pull out sports and put Christmas back pretty simply and easily. But it's a way to condense down a lot of things and still have them very visible and very accessible with that simple addition of that file folder tab. So I hope that helps, Brenda. Kay's going to post a link on Facebook for the Cricut Cartridge page. So thank you for doing that, Kay. I think that's it. That's the end of the questions for today, ladies. So thank you so much for joining me today. Those of you who are going to be in Chantilly, I hope you'll stop by the booth and introduce yourself. It's always so nice for me to actually meet the people that I'm sort of speaking to blindly when I'm doing the webinar. So I appreciate your coming. I hope you found it helpful. Again, Facebook, a great place of reference. So if you have questions or whatever, please visit the Facebook page and get the information that you need. So everybody get busy cataloging your tools this week. Next week we talk about ink, chalks, and pens and how to get all those colored supplies, including your stickles, organized. So I will talk to you again next Tuesday morning. Have a great and productive week.